Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. And today we have with us Jenna Madden, who's the CEO of Soulmate Strategy and the New Earth Leadership Movement. Jenna, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mike. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. So I am interested in anything that's new and unique. And when there's a cause or a movement and it's unique sounding, I want to hear about it. So I want to hear all about the New Earth Leadership Movement, but bring us up to speed first on what your background is, what led you to coaching, and what led you to the realization that a movement on New Earth leadership was needed.
Yeah, this is a really great question. This is the perfect way to kick it off. So basically, the creation of my company and brand and this movement and how I got into coaching really started with my own personal evolution, as I think many times that happens for us in the coaching space, where basically, in short, I shifted from a totally different life. This was 4 or 5 years ago. I was in a corporate job that I was unhappy with. I was like 70 pounds heavier. I was in an abusive relationship. Just my entire life was totally different. So I stumbled into network marketing. I also hired my first life coach. I transitioned out of my corporate job and started in with the business side of things because I did have a background in corporate leadership. I went to school for business, but working in human resources, basically firing people, is basically what I was doing. It was definitely not my calling. So as I found entrepreneurship in the coaching world, I totally found what felt like my purpose. And it's really, truly been an evolution from there, from when I met my partner to we moved in together a week later and started our company together a month later. And since then have traveled the world while we've built up our company. And eventually that led to our business that it is today, as well as the movement that we're really passionate about creating, because honestly, we're at just such a transitional time in humanity right now that I truly feel that it's the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the leaders that can make the biggest ripple of impact right now into the collective to really shape what the future is going to look like, both in our economic systems, in our cultures, in our society, how people work, or if they have a business, like all of those things, a lot of them are so tied into entrepreneurship. And so that's really what our New Earth Leadership Movement is all about, is helping leaders really activate themselves to a deeper level in their own personal leadership, as well as help them amplify their business, both in terms of cash flow, but also in the impact that they're making.
Yeah, I mean, that's so huge because I think that a lot of people get caught up in the weeds of the day-to-day, but when you can look at it from a macro, larger perspective, it kind of helps to see where you're headed or should be headed. So is that kind of some of the approaches that you take when you work with your clients? Exactly.
Looking at things both in the shorter term and the micro, as well as the longer term and the macro, because people do get really caught in busy work. They get caught in everything that they think they should do and what their business is supposed to look like. And oftentimes it can be so much simpler. Like one of my biggest mottos is simplify to amplify, because there's obviously a lot of nuances and moving pieces in a business, especially what I would call a conscious business, where people are trying to make an impact as well as profit with what they're doing. But there's so many things going on, but that doesn't mean that it has to be hard and that we have to keep living out old cycles that, the hustle, the bro marketing, all of those kinds of old paradigm things that I don't really think are going to come with us into the future.
Yeah, that's that's now getting into predicting and contrarian views, and I kind of like that concept in the sense that when you hear the word leadership, you tend to think same old, okay, we're going to work with teams and but you have to have something fresh. So what would you say, like the unique selling proposition or just the tagline of what is New Earth Leadership?
Yeah, it's a great question. To me, New Earth Leadership is, I hope I can swear on this, but it's people who give a shit about the future, and they want to have a business that really, truly is aligned with them. It's aligned with their purpose, and it's aligned with being profitable, because if we're only doing one of those things, then there's definitely a gap. And I always say business is a reflection of ourselves. And if people aren't looking at their own stuff, it's really hard to create a future where business operates in a new and different way, because there's obviously a huge wave of people right now realizing that not only established people, but newer people too who are entering this industry, realizing that they didn't like their jobs. Now they have a permission slip to come and do something that feels more fulfilling to them. And that to me is really how we create this new earth reality, especially in a business context, is by people stepping into the arena and actually being willing to do the work, like do the hard stuff that it takes to look at our own stuff, our own habits, our own cycles, beyond just the surface level, kind of leadership that I think we've been sold for a really long time.
You talk about, like conscious business or conscious capitalism is kind of a phrase that I'm familiar with as well. And I feel like that relates to cause marketing. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's interesting because I think there's this line of a conscious business, socially conscious business, which is, wonderful. They're both wonderful. But I want to kind of dive in a little bit to where the motivation can be. And I think that any business that, hey, we want to have a socially conscious business because, and here's what it will look like. So I want to kind of ask your opinion on that one piece and then merge into how can a business avoid the temptation of doing it just because it's a cool and glitzy thing to do and you really want more business, but you're going to say it's a socially conscious business and you're giving back to the community, but you're only doing that for the good PR and the goodwill, but you really want to pad the bottom line. And I know those are two extremes, but I think that there's a line there that people need to be aware of, right?
Yeah, this is a really good question. Something that I teach in my business that I think would be applicable for anybody listening, if you're trying to kind of gauge like where is the line and how do you actually have a conscious business that isn't doing it just because, or maybe you're not feeling connected to why you're doing it. So it's what I call the 5 Ps, which is people, planet, purpose, profit, and personal growth. And basically, when you're looking at all 5 of those areas within your business, whether you're newer, whether you're established, whether you're making millions and you're realigning in your business right now, when you look at all of those areas, asking yourself the question, how does how you show up on a micro level and a macro level with your work affect those 5 areas? So people being obviously other people. This could be your clients. This could be if you're donating to charity. Like, what are you actually standing for when it comes to other people and not just yourself with your business? Planet is obviously taking into consideration the ecological footprint that you're creating, especially for product-based, but I would say service-based businesses as well. And this could tie into how are you giving back to the planet, or is there something that you could be doing to consider that with your business? Purpose is there a purpose? Is there a mission? And are you aligned with it? Profit, obviously making sure that there's cash flow, because if you don't have the resources, time, energy, and financial to back your mission, it really becomes more of a project at some point instead of a business. And then personal, like that's the leadership side to me, is looking at the actual personal growth and evolution that's being facilitated for you through the vehicle of your business. And when you look at all 5 of those things, that kind of ties into your second part of the question of how do they make sure that they're not just doing it basically to fit in or for good PR, is aligning with all of those 5 areas, and you'll never have that issue.
Yeah, and I think that, the tendency is how do we leverage this, vision and mission to increase our sales or to make our company grow, because you have to have profit to stay in business, to pay your employees, so that those employees can go buy things in the local community to support the economy. So there's nothing wrong with profit. There's the age-old argument. Have you ever heard of the Milton Friedman argument that he makes, the ultimate purpose of business is to turn a profit? Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely. So many people, they're on both sides of it's not to turn a profit, it's to make a difference. Well, both sides are true, but you have to think about something. If you want that socially focused business to make a difference in the world for a specific reason, good. That's the best way to have a business vision, because just making widgets, whatever that might be, that pays the bills. But you need to have that bigger vision. But if you don't turn a profit, now a fair profit, let's not gouge, customers, but if you don't have a profit and can keep the doors open, now the whole business goes away. So that cause goes away, the employees go away, and you're not serving the community there either. So I think that a lot of times people get hung up on one side of that equation or the other.
Yeah, I so agree. And honestly, I totally think that they're one in the same. You cannot have one without the other when we're thinking of it from a business context, because you need cash flow, you need resources, finances, profit to put back into the business and into creating a movement. And you also can't really create a movement if you don't know what that is. So both of those things, I think, are essential.
Yeah, 100%. So when you start working with a company, or if a company is thinking, maybe we should look into this, where do you start? What's the first area or thought process that you need to begin?
Yeah, I usually start with going through those 5 Ps with people to get clarity on what is the actual movement and mission behind that company, both on a personal level, of course, like getting to know the CEO, getting to know, or if they're more of a solopreneur, like what is their own personal mission, their why, their vision, and then on a business level as well, like what's the ripple of impact that they're truly looking to create? Because to me, a movement isn't just about the individual or the company's mission that they say that they're doing. The movement to me is the buy-in and the connection and the collaboration of other people, like buying into that and wanting to be a part of it, because that's where I think the real impact happens. And that could be from the consumers, it could be from the clients where they're excited to be a part of working with this company. It could be partners that they're working with, but it has that collaborative energy to it where there's basically a common battle cry where people are coming together on this mission and seeing how by supporting this business or attending this event or buying this product that they're actually moving forward something that is really aligned with their values and what they're excited about.
So what happens if a business comes to you and says, I love the concept of what you're promoting. We know we want to do something. We don't know where to start. And you just said to start with the vision and mission and aligning. I don't know that we even have that. Do you work with the companies to help them create and formulate that so that they can move forward?
Yes. And honestly, for a lot of companies, it's kind of like the idea that I think a lot of people don't even know what their dreams are because they've gotten so disconnected from really giving themselves permission to really go there and dream big and go big. And I find for most companies and individuals that I've worked with that it's actually right there. It's right under the surface. So it's actually a very common thing for people to feel like they don't know. And they either have so many ideas that it's hard to boil it down into what to focus on and how to communicate it, or they feel totally disconnected because they've been hustling or whatever the circumstances for them that they feel like they don't know. But oftentimes with a little bit of digging and probing and just helping them really go there and give themselves the permission slip, it's always there. Like I've never seen someone who doesn't actually have that within them and within their organization. You just kind of have to unpack it.
Well, that's a common comment that people hear so many times with either personally or professionally, where it's like you can't see the forest for the trees. So that's why you need an external third-party consultant coach to come in and help with whatever the area is, because so many times we're jaded or myopic or used to our business or personal life the way that it is, and we don't see the things because we're in the midst of it. But when someone from the external perspective comes in, and I think that's a struggle with a lot of organizations. They go, yeah, we're good to go. We know it. But the problem is you've been in that organization so long, maybe you don't see the things that someone on the outside might see. Do you find that as well?
All the time. And it's a classic. We can't really see our own gaps. Yeah. We get so close to our thing, and that can be good, that can be bad, but we get so close to our business, we get so close to the work that we're doing, like the day-to-day, that it can be really hard to see our own gaps, whether that's in strategy, if that's in our actual higher level, like the mission and movement that we're creating into the world. It's oftentimes a bit of a disconnect for people, even if they don't necessarily feel it in the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I think that as soon as they start having some of those things revealed from that external source like yourself, then all of a sudden the dominoes start falling like, oh, this really was right here, and now that would lead to this, and that would lead to this. So I think that it kind of comes to fruition really quickly because they're starting to see the pieces come together.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, it's really neat to talk through some of these things. What would you say is the best way if someone is listening to this and would like to learn a little bit more, reach out, connect with you, listen to your podcast? What's the best way they can reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spend a lot of time on Instagram, where I always say I love making actual human-to-human connections. So if you're on Instagram, you can find me on there. My handle is New Earth Leadership, but send me an actual message if you follow me, so then I can follow you back. Our podcast is the New Earth Leadership Podcast. My Facebook community, the New Earth Leadership Community. So basically on any of the main platforms, I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can search me up, and that's where I'm mostly spending my time. When in doubt, come to my website, soulmatestrategy.com, which always has all the up-to-date links and everything going on there. But yeah, for me, I love making fellow connections with entrepreneurs and being able to connect, network, and see what you're up to. So if this resonates, absolutely send me a friend request or a follow and a DM.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to put the link to your website in the show notes as well. And Jenna, thank you so much for coming on. It was really fun talking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and thanks for hosting this podcast. It's making a huge impact and movement with what you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.